Chapter 3 of Poppy's Playtime is here, and I've 100%ed the entire thing. I got all the optional collectibles, and while the game doesn't have any achievements, I did find every possible secret within the DLC. So let's talk about whether Chapter 3 is worth it, or does it fall under the same issues of Chapter 1 and 2. So Chapter 3 takes place after the events of Chapter 2 during the train wreck. Players are kidnapped by the chapter's primary antagonist, CatNap. This giant cat is one of the experiments who worships the prototype, who will hunt you throughout the chapter. Most of the focus here is discovering what happened in the orphanage constructed by the toy company and exploring the various parts of the facility, including the maintenance, housing, school, and administration. In fact, the way they introduced the orphanage is almost similar to the way that Andrew Ryan introduces Rapture in the original BioShock. Maybe it's just me, but the mannerisms here is almost palpable. The story here is a lot more straightforward than the previous chapters as you attempt to clear gas from the facility. This led to an expansive journey throughout the new area to redirect power to accomplish this, with the optional VHS tapes further exploring characters such as the employees, experiments, and people seeking to adopt the kids within the facility. It follows much of the same pattern as most analog horror games, with similar aspects found in the Five Nights at Freddy's series, which kind of pioneered this genre, involving deceased children and colorfully designed creatures, but used in their own way. Poppy is also expanded here with more direct information about her motives and desires and what happened to the employees within the facility. You are introduced to a brand new character named Ollie. You never see this character, but he provides guidance throughout the chapter where you have to go and what to do. He does help you by providing keys to key locations you need to enter, but he's also an ally of Poppy, but I bet he's going to be a big deal later on, but he just serves as your guide and hand throughout the DLC. Compared to the previous chapters, you'll get a lot more information here about what happened, but not much about the prototype. It's still shrouded in mystery, the alluring deadly monster in the dark that is worshipped by CatNap and kills anyone who opposes it, forcing the remaining residents into servitude through fear of death or torture. The chapter does end on a high note, providing equal parts of lore and mystery to get players excited for the next chapter. So it's definitely a step up from Chapter 1 and 2, which set up the entire premise, but with Chapter 3 offering a lot more of a bridge for what Chapter 4 may offer. Chapter 3 introduces new elements that definitely bring new life to the gameplay. You'll get two new hands, including a gas mask to help you survive CatNap's hunt. The first is a purple spring that allows the player to leap higher using pressure pads, a flare gun that lights up dark areas and scares off smaller critters, and a gas mask that allows you to survive the deadly gas that the facility's been exposed to and CatNap can use. Unlike Episode 2, which dealt largely with rhythm-based puzzle challenges, here the puzzles are more systematic. Much of the puzzles are diverting power using pressure sensors, recharging electrical nodes that are on a timer, and finding batteries. Much of them just involve lining up the direction of the power poles and making sure the path is clear. They all take advantage of your various hands, so nothing feels neglected. The brand new area is appealing as it captures much of the sense of dread and childlike wonder that the facility used to have and is now in the state of. The new areas offer a nice environmental diversity, and you can see the developers took a lot of time to design the areas to capture the sense of dread with writing on the wall, claw marks, warnings, bloody floors, makeshift camps, and even barricades and areas where people had final stands. The central area leading to all the zones can feel a bit overwhelming, but the game attempts to give the player an idea of where to go, providing a map, and when needed to interact with specific objects, a loud location beeping noise so you know where it is. There are moments of horror done correct here. In fact, I would argue that this chapter is definitely more terrifying than Chapter 1 and 2 combined. Much of the tension does come from the unseen of CatNap just hunting you. You're unaware of when he'll attack, and he's shown throughout the chapter just stalking you. The first playthrough this seemingly endless hallway was definitely terrifying for me, especially how the game hints that CatNap is just around and just looking at you. It even shows you this. Unfortunately, these situations are far between and often diluted by the darkness, literal darkness. It can be hard to see, and this is especially present when using the gas mask. It's hard to get scared when you can't even see what's in front of you. The developers want to build that tension, but it's often destroyed by the level design itself because it's just so claustrophobic and you can barely see what's going on. This is also true for the voice stand-ins of the various characters. They offer lore, but repeat the same pattern of opening with child-friendly messages, only to devolve into cliche horror static, so you know what's going to happen. They never break this mold. What combat challenges and chases that are presented are far between memorable, but usually annoying. The first major encounter comes from Miss Delight, a deranged teacher who hunts you within the school. Presented as a game of red light, green light, you have to keep Miss Delight within the point of view to stop her from moving, all while recharging generators to unlock gates to escape the school. This sounds like an intense challenge of cat and mouse as you retrace your steps through the school, but turns into a nightmare as there are no checkpoints and the final gate is prone to technical issues. The biggest is Miss Delight just getting stuck on the door, but the far worst is the final door itself. I'm still not sure how exactly to open this door after replaying this game 3 times. I opened it 3 different ways. Sometimes I placed the batteries in and then recharged the node. Another time I charged the node and then inserted the batteries after they were removed from the slot. And the last time I charged the node and restarted the batteries after they were inserted, so I would take them out and reinsert them. So I'm not really sure what exactly I have to do to unlock this door, and judging from my walkthrough for Mr. Light, a lot of people are prone to these issues as well, so I'm not sure what the heck is going on here. As for the other fights, Daydog is just another chase sequence where you memorize the path in. CatNap is a pretty intense fight. It does remind me a lot of the final fight in Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, the main campaign, where you avoid the creature by blocking its path, using electrical nodes and recharging the main station by removing batteries that open new paths for CatNap to use. It's definitely an intense fight, but much of Poppy Playtime suffers from the same issues that popularized this type of horror, which is one-hit deaths. This is a staple within these types of horror games, but similar to how Resident Evil 4, the original game, popularized quick-time events, this trope has overstayed its welcome. Now they're just artificial ways to increase the difficulty and offer more frustration. Whether it's fighting Miss Delight or CatNap, having all your progress gone through just one mistake is nauseating. And I know a lot of purists out there will get very angry at me about this, but at this point I think this is valid criticism, especially considering you have to wait 8 to 10 seconds in order to retry the option. I get these are lore dumps where they give you small snippets of information about an off-screen character, but overall this is just really annoying. They need to either add more checkpoints or maybe add a single ability to defend yourself, even if it's just one extra hit. Either way, this is just really annoying. Another thing is that there are no multiple saves. If you want to replay any section, you'll have to replay the entire chapter. I would also like a collectible tracker so I know I got everything. Now, I did attempt to use a controller in order to test if they fixed any of the issues from the previous chapters, and they did not. All the same issues are still here. The game won't register changes such as inverted controls until you die or reset the entire game, and the controllers don't entirely work when switching hands. I'm not sure if I was doing something wrong, but I inputted every single command I can think of, both on the Xbox and PlayStation controller. Maybe they fixed it by now, but when I was playing it, it was completely just problematic. Lastly, the game is not stable. Like what I stated about Miss Delight's fight, it's prone to technical issue, and there are a lot of situations where the batteries will fall through the level or grow to profound sizes. Granted, they still work when they're bigger, but this is not something that should happen. In the CatNap fight, there were situations where he seemingly teleported to my position and attacked me, or the mini critters would glitch out and not be reactive to the flare that I sent to them. Granted, they wouldn't attack me, but they would just glitch out completely. You can solve most of these issues by reloading the checkpoint, but as I stated about the boss encounters, losing progress just because CatNap ignored the barrier or teleported to my position or Mr. Light gets stuck on a door, yeah, that's just incredibly problematic, especially considering you have to do the entire fight all over again. Chapter 3 is definitely a step up from the previous chapters, not only in the length of the story content, but memorable encounters against those who remained in the facility. CatNap is definitely a more memorable antagonist than Huggy Wuggy or Mommy Longlegs because of its constant presence throughout the chapter. The unfortunate situation is that the overuse of one-hit deaths creates more frustration than fear, and the use of darkness and vision obscuring mask leads to a lot of visual annoyances. You definitely need more checkpoints here, and they definitely need to add save slots. Lastly, the prototype's mystery is starting to get old. At this point, something needs to be shown other than the knockoff Dr. Claw model. We do get a glimpse of the creature through a model of CatNap's creation, but after 3 chapters of building up this thing, the next chapter will need to provide more or it's just going to get old. Almost like they're building it up to the point that it's either going to be incredibly disappointing or incredibly shocking. Either way, at this point, the prototype has become more of an annoyance than it has become a symbol of just great evil. I hope that the next chapter does finally give us something to latch on to, but regardless, chapter 3 is definitely a great step up from chapter 1 and 2, and if you're a fan of this game, you're definitely get your money's worth in terms of content.